Very happy today to be joined by Chris Dickinson here on the program today. You were just here like a couple of weeks ago.
I know. I'm happy to be back. We were talking about getting me back on the show, so the opportunity came, and here I am.
Yeah, we were going to do a long one, but then you got booked for Thursday, and I had to talk about AEW and everything like that, so I had to.
Gotcha.
We'll do it again. But a lot to get into. Obviously, the Resurgence show is coming up on Saturday. Looks like they've flown you into the hotel room right now, all ready to go. And
yes.
How does it work in terms of quarantine, testing? What are they doing at this point for this show?
Things are a little bit more lax than they were. I've actually been here for a couple of days. I had a GCW show, and then I was in Lake Arrowhead for a few days in a wrestling training camp with Tony Nelson and Pat Smith. And if you don't know who those guys are, I mean, look up Tony Nelson. He's one of the most decorated, one of the greatest NCAA heavyweight freestyle wrestlers like of all time. So I was in a camp with those guys for a few days just training. And now I'm down here, and actually we're going to go get COVID tested right here at the hotel in probably about like an hour or so. So that's, just now I'll just stick to myself and do my own thing. I checked in yesterday, and, we take our test, and then we all travel together to and from the event. So it's a little bit more lax than it was, obviously, like a year ago or, a couple months ago earlier in this year.
So do you get like the butterflies before it's time to get this COVID test? Because there's plenty of people that, Filthy Tom was one of them. The only reason he knew he had COVID was he got a test. And obviously, I don't want to worry you or anything like that, but you don't want to test positive because then you're off the show.
Yeah, no, that's just, what's sad is I guess I'm just so used to it at this point because I've come to that point so many times where it's like you travel, time to take your COVID test, and then let's say you do fail the test, you're screwed, you're out of the whole week. So, I kind of gotten used to it, and I just kind of have faith, and I do my best to take care of myself and not come across COVID. But it's kind of impossible. You can't really. I guess, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. But I think I'm okay. I'm feeling pretty good today. So.
Now, you mentioned where you were training, and obviously in New Japan, it would certainly not be non-beneficial to have some sort of amateur wrestling, shoot training. If you started in the dojo, that's basically what they would start you with. You'd be shooting or working on the ability to be able to do shoot-style wrestling. So is this something that you've always loved to do? Is it something that you've added recently to your repertoire to expand what you're able to do?
Well, I've always been into submission, grappling, or martial arts in one way or another. I'm just fortunate enough I've had the opportunity to be invited to something like that. Where I could train with these super high level, freestyle and Greco-Roman wrestling guys. And yeah, that absolutely is. I add it to my pro wrestling repertoire. I add it to my grappling repertoire because I'm always training. I'm training in jiu-jitsu, catch wrestling, or what have you. But this stuff is so fundamental and it's so important to learn. And look at a system that New Japan, brings the young lions up on. Look at the guys that they recruit to become young lions generally in Japan. A lot of these guys do have decorated amateur wrestling backgrounds or some sort of decorated martial arts background or some sort of athletic background. So I think it's important to have an understanding of, just basic holds and how to, actually shoot a single, shoot a double. I think just, really learning how to really move your opponent around and how to, work into throws, and there's proper ways to do things. And, with pro wrestling, unfortunately, a lot of that these days, especially here in this country, it gets lost. And it kind of just becomes almost like people are playing, they're playing through the holds and the moves. But, that's not me. That's not my style. I want to be able to legitimately showcase that I know what I'm doing. So anytime you get a chance to train with somebody the caliber of like a Tony Nelson or a Pat Smith, you have to jump at that opportunity because it's like priceless. It's the information and the ability that you could gain from working with somebody like this is you don't want to pass that up, especially somebody in my position. Trying to do what I'm trying to do.
What was the genesis of this as far as hooking this up, and how did this invite end up coming to be? Because, for those people that were watching Olympic wrestling here, Pat Smith's brother, John, who's the head coach at Oklahoma State, a legend in his own right by leaps and bounds, they heard his voice. Pat's obviously a legend, maybe for a lot of older fans of wrestling and of the UFC, they would know him, but, there's, he kind of slipped away a little bit.
Pat Smith. This is a different Pat Smith. This is a Greco guy named Pat Smith. You can look him up. He's another Minnesota wrestling guy, along with Tony and Gable and all those guys. They're all Gophers.
Oh, so Jay Robinson guys. Okay.
Yeah, but these guys are all nasty as hell, and it came to be because of my association with Josh Barnett. He's my coach. So I trained with Josh, and Josh knew about this camp, and he was like, I think this will be really awesome for you. And it's been kind of a wild month for me. I lost my grandma, and it happened fairly recently. It happened really fast, and my family's just kind of like been huddled together, and we've been like supporting each other. And I had all this stuff coming up. And then he invited me to go out to this camp, and it really was an amazing experience. I think, as a best friend, he really was looking out for me, just to get me away from everything going on and get me in a good environment. And if you guys have never been to Lake Arrowhead, California, you should look it up. It's unbelievable. It's up in the mountains, like 6,000 feet above sea level. It's this amazing town, and the school that hosted us, it was an unbelievable experience. I can't say enough about it. I had a great time, and like I said, I learned some cool new stuff, and definitely going to be applying that in my pro wrestling. The littlest things that could really just change the way you do something and make it look so much better, make it so much more effective. These are the things you learn when you train with guys of that caliber.
It's very interesting because as a former wrestler myself, you said something intriguing here, and that is it's important to learn how to move someone around. And it's funny you say that because when you think about traditional American style and two people working together, I should not have to move anybody around. But It's funny you mentioned this because I watched the Filthy Tom Ren Narita match, and they weren't shooting, okay? But when I watched it, it was like, dude, if Tom wants something, he's going to have to take it from this guy. And I asked him about that, and he said, that's how it is. In New Japan.
Ren's a good wrestler.
Yes.
Ren has a real background.
Yes.
And obviously, we all know Tom's background. So,
But in New Japan, some guys, they're going to make you work, right?
Well, that's wrestling. Should be.
I shot a double on Ren. I think the first time we wrestled, it was a tag team match. I think before we did a singles match, I shot a takedown on Ren, and he stopped it. And I was like, all right, this guy's serious business. And then there was another time I was wrestling with Ren. I took Ren down. I kind of I don't know where I was at. Maybe I was kind of in a guard, open guard or something. He grabbed a head scissor on me with his legs. And I was like, this dude. I was like, okay. So yeah, no, Ren's pretty tough.
And that is, you can explain it to people. If you did a match for Beyond, you go to double leg someone, they're going down. It's just, it's different.
I don't want to expose too much of it, but yeah, for the most part, most people are just trained as soon as you do something like that, immediately they're just gonna fall down, they're gonna bump. They don't even have the wherewithal to think oh, let me defend this, let me try to sprawl out, let me try to and when you don't have that experience, or you don't try to at least gain the idea of what to do in a situation like that, you're cutting yourself off from being able to build on something so much more when you could build a whole spot, say for instance, or a whole piece of a match around just trying to get a takedown. It's as simple as it is, but people just don't really think like that. They're just so much more worried about kind of all the stuff that they got in their mind that they have pre-planned, and they want to stick to that game plan, and just kind of going out there and wrestling is almost becoming a lost art. But that's why I feel like I exist. I'm trying to preserve that.
That's exactly what I wanted to ask you next, was how important is it to you? Because you talk to a lot of the old heads and it's like, yeah, I'm going to give you my arm, to a point, but you got to take it, and I'm going to look for openings on you, because this is supposed to be a struggle. And yes, we are working, but we are supposed to be in competition with each other. And that's an art that, again, styles change, all of that sort of stuff aside, there is still, how important is it to you, not only for yourself, but to make sure that these roots continue to pass on? Because Josh Barnett, it's like he is going to stand there and be the guy at the gates forever, as long as he can, as far as making sure the Shayna Baszlers of the world, yourself, that these styles maintain.
Yeah, I mean, it's so much more than just Josh. It's going back to Inoki. It's going back to Carl. It's going back to Billy and all these guys, and it's going back to Fujiwara. Listen, I love pro wrestling. Pro wrestling is my whole life. I love it more than what successes it could give to me as if I was to kind of like sacrifice my integrity. I love what I do so much that I'm willing to put myself out there and do what I have to do in order to preserve the pro wrestling I believe in. It's because that's what's going to make me different, and that's what kind of set me apart. I feel like the last 2 years, especially, that I've seen upward trajectory is you examine the business, you look at all the stuff going on and what everybody's doing, the stuff in the spotlight, the stuff on TV. Everybody's going to zig. I want to zag. I don't want to do what anybody else is going to do. Sure, that's great for them if that's what works, if that's what's successful, fine. But I'm in the business of pro wrestling, and I love pro wrestling, and I want to, preserve what I believe is true pro wrestling as best as I possibly can, and hopefully open some eyes and pass it on to some other people and be able to carry on this kind of lost art that's kind of getting, shoved away because, everything's kind of just become a big giant circus. And I'm kind of in the business of preserving pro wrestling. And that's what I love.
So obviously you've got, I watch numerous shows, and there's Chris Dickinson. Oh, he's on New Japan Strong. Oh, here he is on the New Japan pay. Oh, here he is on Ring of Honor. And obviously there's other things you're doing as well, but is this your personal favorite time in your career at this point?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually, the last conversation I actually had with my grandmother. I've kind of gone over this in my head multiple times. She asked me if I was happy with everything going on in my life. And I said, I know things are probably going to get better, obviously, because I just, keep working, keep putting my best foot forward, and things will improve and things will keep moving on. But, if I could just kind of look back at the last year and all the bad stuff that happened and think about the position I actually am in and how well I did and where I'm at and how, people perceive me. Yeah, this is definitely the happiest I've ever been. And, the best time of my career for sure. But, like I said, you don't want to harp on that. You got to keep thinking forward. You got to keep thinking, how are we going to keep the machine moving? So I'm in a good spot and I'm really happy about it.
Now, yesterday, we're talking to David Finley, and this is going to be, aside from Slammiversary, the first show that he is working in front of fans in 18 months. 2,200 tickets sold. They sold out all the tickets they put on sale for Saturday. How does this rank in terms of crowds you will work in front of in the past 18 months?
This is tremendous. This is probably the biggest crowd, I'd say. This is a tremendous event, man. There's a lot of work that's gone into this. New Japan Strong, the locker room, without divulging too much information, or breaking kayfabe or whatever. Listen, we're all super duper pumped up about this. You have a really great, solid group of guys here. The best group of dudes. Guys that all really want to get back to Japan, but what can we do right now? We're not in control of that. So, New Japan Strong became our thing.
Well, actually, hold that thought. We're going to head to a break. We'll come right back and plug the show, and where everyone listening can see it, back in a moment, Observer Live. Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Semper, Vivi, Chris Dickinson. New Japan Resurgence is taking place on Saturday. No tickets available, although you can watch the show on Fight TV, which I will be doing on Saturday. We'll review the show on Saturday night as well. I'm sure Sunday on Observer Live. And Chris is also going to be working the Death Before Dishonor show for Ring of Honor September 12th. We'll do another show at some point and plug that show. But New Japan Strong every Friday night, NJPWWorld.com. It's an hour. It's easy to get through. 3 matches, great wrestling. So make sure you check that out as well. And anything else you'd like to get in there, Chris, before we go?
It's like I said before the break, the group of guys, the nucleus here in this locker room, this New Japan Strong group of individuals here, there's a lot of passion involved. There's a lot of guys are full of piss and vinegar. Everybody wants to really get back to Japan. But, this is what we got to deal with now, and this is what we got to work with. And we've made it our thing, and we're really, really pumped. We're so happy to be back in front of fans with New Japan Strong and just, show people, what we got and how we do it over here. And I feel like this is going to be a really big weekend for us, and it's a really special time for New Japan Pro Wrestling and for all of us involved with Strong. So thank you so much. I'm so glad it's sold out, and please join us on Fight TV,
And one last thing before we go, Chris. Happy birthday.
Oh, yes, it was. It's my birthday. My birthday yesterday.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, a little belated, but anyway, thanks everybody for listening. We are totally out of time. Check out the show on Saturday, New Japan Strong, Fight TV, and more. Talk to you next time, Wrestling Observer Live. If you enjoy these videos, for just $7.99 per month, you can enjoy full-length editions of The Bryan and Vinny Show, Wrestling Observer Live, Figure 4 Daily with Tom Lawler and Lance Storm, plus hundreds of archived shows, all in beautiful HD. Don't miss out. Join us today.